for today's cup of coffee, we've got, it's a rather interesting topic, and this goes back to PsyOps, because it's not new. This is like, Book of Genesis, PsyOps type thing. And we got a lot of this going on today, and we're going to be discussing during World War II, you had Tokyo Rose was how this was. It was actually not an individual. It became associated with an individual, but it was a group of individuals.
Okay.
And bear with me with pronunciation of names because we've got her name was Iva Toguri D'Aquino.
Okay.
Because she married a gentleman who was like Portuguese. So I've got multiple languages that I can screw up at one time.
Yeah,
all in one name.
Fun.
And so this comes from the FBI website.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another link for FBI Records, the Vault. And that's where you can actually go and read the actual documents, that was against her, written about her, whatever it was. And then the final link I have was odd. And that will come from the Britannica.com website.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get to that and why I found out that it was odd. And, we don't have a lot of the World War II vets left.
No, we don't.
And it's really sad because those folks had a lot of stories to tell, a lot of experiences to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us didn't have enough sense to listen well. Of course, when you're a kid, you don't. Now, my grandfather, I've said this lots, that is my maternal grandfather, served in World War II in the infantry. Mm-hmm. And I think he was like maybe 19.
Yeah.
He would never talk about it. Very rarely.
Because it messed him up.
It did mess him up because he was part of the group that went in and freed people from the concentration camps.
Yeah.
And that would screw anybody up. So, anyhow, this lady, Miss Iva, we'll call her Iva, she gained notoriety as the mythical Tokyo Rose, and she was the 7th person to be convicted of treason in U.S. history at the time.
Shit.
Yeah. And I'm just going to read pretty much verbatim from this because it's the FBI.
Yeah.
They wrote this stuff. And her background was, it says, following the Japanese surrender in September 1945, American troops began searching for Japanese military leaders and others who may have committed war crimes. The press, sometimes following, sometimes beating the military to the scene, did the same.
Yeah.
Well, now, why would the press want to be there first?
Don't know.
Well,
to get the scoop?
Absolutely. And two of these reporters, Henry Brundage and Clark Lee, sought Tokyo Rose, the notorious siren who tried to demoralize American soldiers and sailors during the war by highlighting their hardships and sacrifices. Through their legwork and contacts, the two reporters quickly identified one young American woman, Iva, who had made such broadcast. And Brundage and Lee offered her a significant sum, which they later reneged on paying for exclusive rights to interview her. And Aquino agreed, signing a contract that identified her as Tokyo Rose. The problem for Aquino, though, was that Tokyo Rose was not an actual person, but the fabricated name given by soldiers to a series of American-speaking women who made propaganda broadcasts under different aliases. As a result of her interview with the two reporters, Aquino came to be seen by the public, though not by Army and FBI investigators, as the mythical protagonist Tokyo Rose. This popular image defined her in the public mind of the post-war period and continues to color debate about her role in World War II today. which means the public can fixate on something regardless of whether it's true or not.
Yeah, pretty much.
We have seen that happen. We are seeing that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Aquino was born, this Toguri, in Los Angeles on July the 4th. On July the 4th, she was born.
Okay.
In 1916, and her father had come to the U.S. from Japan in 1899, and then her mother had followed in 1913. The family eventually settled in Los Angeles, and Toguri enrolled in the University of California at Los Angeles and graduated in January 1940 with a degree in zoology. She did graduate there, did work there rather, until June of that year. During her school years, Toguri was a popular student and was considered a loyal American. She was American.
Yeah.
She was born here. And on July 5th, 1941, Toguri sailed for Japan from San Pedro, California, without a U.S. passport.
Ooh.
Now, who the hell travels to another country without a passport,
Right.
even in 1941?
Yeah.
In subsequent years, she gave 2 reasons for her trip: to visit a sick aunt and to study medicine. In September of that year, Toguri appeared before the U.S. Vice Consul in Japan to obtain a passport, stating she wished to return to the U.S. for permanent residence. Okay, she was already a U.S. citizen, so that right there is screwy.
Yeah.
Because she left the U.S. without a passport, her application was forwarded to the Department of State for consideration. Before arrangements were completed for issuing a passport, Japan attacked America and war was declared. Iva later withdrew the application, saying she would voluntarily remain in Japan for the duration of the war. That was convenient.
Yeah, totally.
And she enrolled in a Japanese,
knew what she was doing.
Sure she did, language and culture school to improve her language skills. From mid-1942 until late 1943, Toguri worked as a typist for a news agency. In August 1943, she obtained a second job as a typist for Radio Tokyo.
Huh.
However, in November of 1943, Toguri was asked to become a broadcaster for Radio Tokyo on the 0 Hour program. Now, the program was part of a Japanese psychological warfare campaign designed to lower the morale of the U.S. Armed Forces. The 0 Hour was broadcast every day except Sunday from 6 p.m. until 7:15 p.m. Tokyo time. Toguri participated in most weekday broadcasts, but other women handled weekend duties. Toguri was announced or introduced on the program as Orphan Ann or Orphan Annie. And the average time of each program that she had was 20 minutes, during which she made propaganda statements and introduced popular records of the day. And the remainder of the program was devoted chiefly to news items from America and general news commentaries by other members of the broadcasting staff. Mm-hmm. Now keep that in mind.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like, okay, that's sort of nothing.
Yeah.
But remember, this is a propaganda campaign.
Right.
And a PSYOPs campaign. So hold that thought there. By late 1944, Toguri was writing her own material for the program. And Toguri was not a professional radio personality, but many of those who later recalled hearing her enjoyed the program, especially the music. As far as its propaganda value, Army analysis suggests that the program had no negative effect on troop morale, and that it may have even raised it a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Now, just hold
Right.
on. The Army's sole concern about the broadcast was that Annie appeared to have good intelligence on U.S. ship and troop movements. So she was getting the info from somewhere. She knew too much just to be on there
Yeah.
saying this stuff. On April... She what?
Alternate motives that she does
sure.
not want to disclose, I guess.
On April 19th, 1945, Toguri married Felipe Aquino, a Portuguese citizen of Japanese Portuguese ancestry. Now, the marriage was registered with the Portuguese consulate in Tokyo. However, Aquino did not renounce her U.S. citizenship. So she can't figure out what the hell or where the hell she wants to be. She's playing both ends against the middle on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then she continued her 0-hour broadcast until the war was over. And then after the war, in September 1945, the press had reported that Aquino was Tokyo Rose. U.S. Army authorities arrested her. The FBI and the Army's Counterintelligence Corps conducted an extensive investigation to determine whether Aquino had committed crimes against the U.S.
Yes.
Against the U.S., period. By the following October, authorities decided that the evidence then known did not merit prosecution, and she was released.
Bullshit.
Before the year was out, Aquino again requested a U.S. passport. American veterans groups and noted broadcaster Walter Winchell learned of this and became outraged that the woman they thought of as Tokyo Rose wanted to return to this country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's going to go to...
Wouldn't she be outraged?
Sure, she goes to another country. She does... It's same thing as shit posting, only it was shit speaking, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, whoops, my bad. I want to come back home.
Well, you fucked up.
Mm-hmm. They demanded that the woman be... they considered a traitor be arrested and tried, not welcomed back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I agree.
The public furor convinced the Justice Department that the matter should be re-examined, and the FBI was asked to turn over its investigative records on the matter. The FBI's investigation of Aquino's activities had covered a period of some 5 years. During the course of that investigation, the FBI had interviewed hundreds of former members of the U.S. Armed Forces who had served in the South Pacific during World War II, unearthed forgotten Japanese documents, and turned up recordings of Aquino's broadcast. Many of these recordings, though, were destroyed following the initial decision not to prosecute.
Convenient.
Who does that? Whoever destroys evidence of anything?
Those people? The government destroys evidence all the time.
The Department of Justice initiated further efforts to acquire additional evidence that might be sufficient to convict. It issued a press release asking all U.S. soldiers and sailors who had heard the Radio Tokyo propaganda broadcast and who could identify the voice of the broadcaster to contact the FBI. Justice also sent one of its attorneys and reporter Harry Brundage to Japan to search for other witnesses. Problematically, Brundage enticed a former contact of his to perjure himself in the matter. So why the hell would anybody do that? Why? Now, he was the one that was going to pay Chick for the interview. So either he was an idiot or he knew what he was doing and did it purposefully.
He knew exactly what he was doing. Do you honestly think these people have, like... they know exactly what they're doing.
Some of them do, and then some of them just dumbasses. I don't know. With new witnesses and evidence, the U.S. Attorney in San Francisco convened a grand jury, and Aquino was indicted on a number of counts in September of 1948. She was detained in Japan and brought under military escort to the U.S., arriving in San Francisco on September the 25th, 1948. There she was immediately arrested by FBI agents who had a warrant charging her with the crime of treason for adhering to and giving aid and comfort to the Imperial Government of Japan during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hell yeah, she worked for them.
Yeah.
So it says, Aquino's trial began July 5th, 1949, one day after her 33rd birthday. On September 29th, 1949, the jury found her guilty on one count in the indictment. This made Aquino, who had gained notoriety as Tokyo Rose, and you can go and read the whole thing on that.
Okay.
The seventh person to be convicted of treason in the history of this country. On October the 6th.
There should have been more.
Absolutely. 1949, Aquino was sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment and fined $10,000 for the crime of treason. That crime of treason can carry much stiffer penalties.
Mm-hmm.
On January 28th, 1956, she was released from the Federal Reformatory for Women at Alderson, West Virginia, where she served 6 years and 2 months of her sentence. She successfully fought government efforts to deport her.
Wow.
And returned to Chicago. Well, why not? Well, she wanted to be on Japan's side. Why not put her where she wanted to be?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when you go and you do this stuff.
I mean, she was born here in America, grew up here in America.
Right. Had all the benefits of America, was educated here.
Why would you go and betray the country that you grew up in?
And then want to come back to it after the shit hits the fan.
Uh-huh.
Right. There's a lot of people asking that question about a lot of people today. This was what... okay, anyhow, she fought government efforts to deport her, returned to Chicago, where she worked in her father's shop until his death. This was the pisser. President Gerald Ford pardoned her on January the 6th of the 19th, 1977. She passed away in 2006. Why? Because those of us that lived through Gerald Ford found out he was an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the only one to be an idiot, but he was that idiot.
Yeah.
Then, okay, it says Brundage nor the witness, neither one of those testified at the trial because of the taint of perjury. Well, yeah, that sort of prevents you from presenting evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Nor was Brundage prosecuted for subordination of perjury, but he probably should have been.
Yeah.
According to the FBI records available at the National Archives, the Department of Justice thought that the evidence came down to the witness's word against that of Brundage. And that's where he had supposedly offered her money and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that would be a he said, she said. This was the other one from Britannica. And gives a little bit of the same synopsis that the FBI report had. But at one point it says that while she was in Tokyo, she refused to become a Japanese citizen. And eventually she found a job at Radio Tokyo. I want people to go and read this one because of the way that it is written. It is a matter of certain words that are used, certain words next to other words that gives... I swear to you, this is propaganda here. This from Britannica. Okay, it says that she met an Australian...
If only you could actually show it up on the screen or something.
Well, you know, I gave a link. I'm going to give a link. Australian and an American who were prisoners of war. These men had been ordered to write English language broadcast materials to demoralize Allied servicemen. So what they're saying in Britannica totally goes against what the FBI thing had said, which was that she wrote the shit herself. Mm-hmm. They're trying to absolve her.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly, but
poor little thing. It says, secretly, all of them were attempting to subvert the entire operation.
Bullshit.
And D'Aquino was recruited to announce for them and made her first broadcast November 1943. Much later, President Ford became convinced that she had been wrongly accused and convicted, and in January 1977, he pardoned her. Now, I want you to notice this. This article was most recently revised and updated by someone named Amy Takanen. Is that or is that not a Japanese name?
I think it is.
It looks like a Japanese name. And she is supposedly the General Corrections Manager handling a wide range of topics that includes Hollywood, politics, books, and anything related to the Titanic. I'm assuming the way it was like the movie. She's worked at Britannica for more than 2 decades, which is frightening in and of itself. So we got propaganda talking about propaganda. And where they were saying that some of the things that she was doing, there was one snippet of part of a broadcast that I had found, and it's very scratchy. And if I didn't close the link out, I'll include that so people can go and hear what they said. The propaganda that was being blasted.
It's not Japanese.
Is it not?
No, it's Finnish.
Finnish? Okay. Well, she's still female, and females have a tendency to give too much credit to people. We do. We do. Mm-hmm. Which is why that certain things, it's like, no. That's why there has to be a balance between man brain and female brain.
Yeah.
Within this, they're like, oh, okay, what she said wasn't that horrible. It wasn't a matter of, okay, GIs, you're all a piece of shit and this and the other. No, it was much more subtle and sinister within this PsyOps campaign, because you had somebody who was American, had an American voice, and would just, that voice from home when you're out of the country. Mm-hmm. And to play music that was popular in America.
Right.
That is going to tug at you as far as wanting to be home. Missing your loved ones. Miss wife, daughters, whatever it is. So this was not just a little frou-frou, we're going to call you like a bonehead. I think on one of them is what she had said. Like I said, that is that drive from home, and it is going to be a strong pull. I think on some of them, they're like, well, why don't y'all just go home? Y'all don't have to do this or that, or you're losing anyhow. We don't know as far as the news and stuff that they were giving. It had to be fake news.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, Russia's banned, people from reporting fake news.
Oh, they had banned all their newses, at last I heard this morning. So this type of...
I meant like Russia, banned people reporting fake news or what they deemed as fake news.
Well, I think that's all of them. Hmm. The problem is, it's a matter from whose point of view. And we will go into the realm of who is it that writes and reports history. Mm-hmm. To the victor belongs the spoils, and that includes the interpretation of history.
Yeah.
But point being, no matter how subtle certain things as far as psyops, that's the thing about the devil. It's not always, he deals in half-truths and lies. Mm-hmm. There can be just enough of a hook to get you in, and you're going, okay, I know that to be true, and then it's like a corkscrew, and it just goes down and down.
Yeah.
So it is a matter of being aware, being alert at all times. Mm-hmm. Do your own research.
Yes.
And appreciate your country. We've got, and we're finding out more and more that as the general public and the citizens, and I don't want to turn this into a political whatever, that we've been lied to. The citizens of every nation have been lied to.
Yeah.
Because the ruling elite don't give a damn, for the most part, about the citizens.
No, they don't. They never did.
They have their own little agenda. Everybody else is expendable.
Yeah.
And that is evil.
Mm-hmm.
But
pure evil.
As far as this person forsaking this country, going to another country, now you can't make me believe that she was that dumb.
She was not dumb.
That she forgot a passport.
It was a lie, Mama.
Sure it was.
It's to cover up her ass for her true intentions.
Yes, because she
was a spy.
She went and she assisted the enemy.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, whoops, I want to come back home. I don't blame these other people for throwing a fit. It's like, hell no. You took for granted the nation that you were born in. Mm-hmm. You wanted to go over there and consort and help the enemy. Fine, stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, you can go on the books and look for, the penalty for treason. Mm-hmm. And it can include death penalty. And I'm not saying her, being a shit speaker on the radio was warranted that type of punishment. I think that the 10 years, $10,000, and you've got to realize this is back in the 40s, $10,000 would probably be like 100,000 or, $500,000 in today's currency. So there needs to be penalties. And there are people that need to be brought to justice. Mm-hmm. But there's also people that need to be alert and aware of the propaganda. The people that listen to us, I'm sure they're already aware of the propaganda that's going on right now.
Yeah.
But maybe they can share some of these videos and stuff like that. Sit there and go, oh, even the rednecks understand about the propaganda.
Of course we do.
So it's interesting. It definitely does fall. This is who is the father of lies. So anytime that y'all wonder, it's like, oh, she's off the paranormal. Oh, hell no. That's right at the very core of all this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that you wanted to add about the propagandas and the subtleties?
I ain't got shit right now.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It is. And it's frustrating, but it's a matter of just holding the line, keeping the faith, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you've had experiences with paranormal, supernatural encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, line voices on the
everybody's
radios, on the TVs, on the internets, all that stuff. If you got local, regional, family, myths, legends, if there's someone in your circle or whatever that would perchance be a veteran of World War II, go talk to them, hug them, tell them they're appreciated and that they're loved.
Even just a simple pat, like nodding and I appreciate your service.
Yeah.
As you walk by.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, when I was going to get the x-rays today, there was a gentleman there and he had a cap on it said was Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone, I know there was another staff that was walking by and it's like, thank you. That's all you had to say.
Yeah.
So it took him a few years. I mean, it took quite a few years.
Oh, yeah.
To appreciate these people.
I mean, they were ridiculed, treated like absolute shit when they came home, which is disgusting.
It was disgusting. Because these people, that's what happens when you totally discount, discredit, and throw away, national cultures. And there's, not everything is perfect. Mm-hmm. But as far as family, belief systems, communities, nation, all that stuff needs to be, those bonds need to be reformed.
Yeah.
And those who don't like the way that things are done here. And now this is how we feel down here in this area and in a lot of places as far as south. We will befriend just about anybody. But when somebody comes in down here and wants to tell us how to do things, we will tell them, go back, where you came from. If you want things done that way, go back to where they do that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that if people come into this nation or maybe have been born in this nation and don't appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. Take your ass someplace else. Mm-hmm. Now, that's just my opinion, but,
Go to Canada. Go to New Zealand or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And leave the rest of us alone to rebuild, because we will rebuild. Mm-hmm. Lord willing. Know that you all are loved. That's my rant for today.
Yeah.
So, kid of a Marine, it's sort of you. But even if my father had not been a Marine, I just have that built into me. Be appreciative. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we appreciate y'all.
Yeah. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that little notification button for daily notifications of our daily uploads. Thank you all and have a good...
We'll see you on the next cup. Bye.
Bye.